I'm here at Yates Center, Kansas, about an hour and a half south of Topeka, right in the middle of the Flint Hills, which are a swath of land that runs north and south in Kansas, about an hour, hour and a half in width when you're driving, which is just grass as far as you can see. And these communities are very isolated off from the freeways. And this one is really interesting because it has so many old buildings and a town square that's really historic. I'm going to show you, with a pretty amazing courthouse in the center. But first, this building behind me is called Hotel Woodson. And this building is just a really old sandstone type construction building with the front parts removed, or that big square white area having been cut out of what was surely once a building that had stone all the way down like that, and windows. You can see that the floor, you have to take a step up to get to, a few steps up, and it's had this newer piping put on, but right next to it is that same piping from the late 1800s era, in which this building would have been refurbished, had that steel beam put across the top, and then supported by what this wood looking pillar hides, which is a steel post that goes all the way up and supports all the stone and windows above it, but then had this wood constructed in the middle. And the really interesting thing about this building is that it has the sandstone type stones constructed, and almost like cake frosting is put on the top. It has these beads of concrete on the outside, but when we get around towards the end, it all looks like it was done at the same time. These windows that are down lower have been filled in with the same exact stone. Doesn't look like it was any newer or older, but they're all blocked in, and that hides the windows that were directly under these windows. You see how these windows come all the way down? Well, that's what that area down there would have been at one time, with windows all the way down, but really no great entrance. All these entrances were put on because there was really no ground level floor. The floors were either up or down. The down's been closed off. The up is up these stairs. And the interior, I took a quick look, it's been completely redone. So a woman let me inside to see how they've redone this. They've redone it into apartments, and it's a little hard to see. The metal ceiling more than likely is original, but a lot of it wouldn't be original. But the pictures of the square would be. So I wanted to take a quick look at those and then go out and see the square. This is the building we're in, and you can see at that time the windows are open, but halfway covered, completely covered. And notice that the concrete sidewalks are already poured. You can see them underneath, completely poured in the midst of dirt streets. Now there is a car there, so that says 1908 on the picture down below. You can see there. But we already have all that refurbishing, the stairs poured and all that type of thing completely done. And then on this one, west side of the square. So we'll go out and see that. And around on this side of the building, you can see where those windows from that picture have had stones put in there. That look like they've been there a long time. You can't tell a whole lot. I actually looked underneath, and all the plumbing has been completely done. It's well modernized, but these, you saw in the picture that these were originally half windows, and what a weird way to build a building if you intended it that way from the start. The real amazing thing to see on these buildings, or to look at it from the perspective of, is the obvious evidence that those levels have been covered up. And now we're going to go see the rest of this square, the historic town square in Yates Center, Kansas, with the old massive courthouse in the middle. And here we are just a little bit further down the street on what is a complete town square. Courthouse still in the middle, but many of the buildings around the edge, although they're in decent condition, a lot of them are really starting to disintegrate. And this was on the corner of the town square, the Masonic Temple, again with the Anna Lucis year of light 5892, which would have been 1892. Almost always the first building in these towns, as they were more than likely the constructors of the refurbishing. They're always first, they're always on the courthouses too. I haven't walked over to that courthouse yet. We're going to do that, but I wanted to take a look at couple of these buildings, which again, now once you know what to look for, that the upper part was much like the lower part, but these steel beams have been put in, because you'll see on these buildings that there's nowhere else that has steel in the buildings. They're brick and wood joists. But these steel beams were inserted across here to allow a big square opening, which is essentially the opening that tin covers. And once you have a big square opening, you have to lower that floor because it's too high. Once you accomplish that, then you build the wood facade on the front, which is just like the building I'm going to come to down the street here. Here is a demonstration or an example of the steel beam across the top, but then the wood structure being built for the front of these buildings through the opening. And again, the floor would have originally been much higher. From there up to this high, you notice that this solid, this is Ottawa Foundry Company. And so right in the center is the Woodson County Courthouse at Yates Center, Kansas. Built, it's said to be in 1899. And if you hear those locust sounding things in the trees, those are cicada. They're called cicada. They're in the evenings. They sing. So that's what you're hearing there. And we're gonna go up. It's after hours, so this is closed, but we're gonna see what you can see on this courthouse. Just everything looks somewhat redone. But you notice we did have to come up again quite a bit to get to the ground floor. And meanwhile, We have window air conditioners going, which is the only way to cool the lower floor or the buried floor. The floor that at one point was more than likely the ground floor. And really what they've had to do is create a makeshift entrance, and well, for the sheriff's office right there. The appraiser's office goes down below here. So not built in a fashion that you would think, well, I want to dig out a deep hole, but not put it far enough under the ground to have it be cool all the time or provide a huge layer of protection. No, it's like the land was raised to an inconvenient level and it had to be dealt with. And so we have stairways going up of what is a massive brick building for 1899. If we back up a little bit, we can see the flag and what looked to be, which many people considered that to be ornamental, up on top, but others considered to be part of a technology that was used at one point to harvest energy or electricity power from the atmosphere and have this building operate like a battery, which is why many of these old buildings did not have originally heating systems or ever looked like wood was burnt in any fireplace that they had inside, but rather radiators put in at a later date and that stuff taken down. Obviously we weren't there and it's conjecture, but when you take the time to look at it, the evidence stacks up, much like the cornerstone does on the buildings. Once again, that is laid by the Masonic Lodge, the Gilead Lodge number 144. And GM is the Grand Master. And that's why 1899 is there. And the Masonic symbol the AF and AM, Ancient Free and Accepted Masons of Kansas, Prince Hall Lodge of Kansas, Woodson, Gilead, number 144 of Yates Center, Woodson, number 121 of Toronto, August 8, 1999. It's a rededication showing that it was no accident. So what does that mean? Well, it means that they're the ones, from symbolism by itself, they're the ones that are in charge of building and establishing the courthouse, not any other group. And so that gets to be a study of what they are exactly. And it's there for everyone to see, so therefore we are supposed to look into that and discuss that. The body of Christ says that you are to educate yourself. And there's a verse in the Bible that says it's the glory of God to conceal a matter, the glory of kings to search out a matter. We're not supposed to not take into account any symbol that is on a building. Therefore, if that building stands for Jesus Christ, well, then it's to be honored in the body of Jesus Christ. If it doesn't, you have to take that into account. And the Masonic organization believes in a supreme being, but not that Jesus is the one who he said he was. That's not my conjecture. That is fact. You must believe in a supreme being, but they accept all and don't hold that as a tenant. So this building, dedicated, refurbished, or built in 1899, are here much, much longer than that. Post your comments down below. And I'll see you in the next video.